Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 3 In Depth, and today's episode we're going to be reviewing the Specialist Reaper. This is one of the most popular specialists in Black Ops 3, probably for the awesome Scythe weapon, which we'll be discussing in depth, but we will also be discussing the story in depth, the Pschyosis ability, and his Quieter Footsteps rumor. So let's start off with first things first, the story. The short version is that he is a cutting-edge R&D robot developed by the United States government to be a war robot, kind of a one-man killing machine. However, it was politically embarrassing and the project ended up being scrapped, not only because it was over budget, but also because it was kind of frightening. If I'm remembering correctly, this little bit was taken out, but I did see this in the private alpha, like he was too effective and people were worried that the government made something too scary and they even wanted it dumbed down a little bit. Or maybe I'm just remembering little bits of Joe Haldeman's classic book, Forever Peace. Years after the entire project was supposed to be scrapped and all robots were shut down, Reaper shows up again in an underground gambling ring extremely heavily modified and with some degree of sentience. When the people running the gambling ring tried to shut him down, he went crazy, killed everyone, and is now a freelance robot for hire, but may be operating under somebody else's command covertly. We don't know for sure. Very interesting character. Let's move into the footstep rumor. So it has been rumored for quite some time that Reaper has quieter footsteps than any of the other specialists, even when you run awareness, thus making him a top tier pick in search and destroy, hardcore, or any mode where footsteps are important. So let's go ahead and put that to the test. I'm not going to be talking through this little next bit so that you can hear the sounds perfectly for yourself. It's about a minute long. We'll talk about it afterwards. As you can hear, Reaper's footsteps are clearly quieter than the footsteps of any other specialist, even when you factor in awareness. This obviously is going to make him superior at search and destroy, hardcore team deathmatch, or any mode where you consider it important to have quiet footsteps. It's almost like he gets dead silence built in, which probably needs to be nerfed. Or, I mean, more accurately, the noise on his footstep needs to be buffed. It needs to be louder. We're going to talk about the Pschyosis ability first today and start off with some testing. One of the rumors is that it would multiply the objective carriers. Unfortunately, if you were carrying an objective and you use Pschyosis, the objective indicator stays on your real body and all of the characters are carrying weapons and not the objective. So if you're carrying the objective, it's a pretty terrible thing to do. And we did have some questions about how Pschyosis works underwater and how much health they have. When you call it in underwater, they don't swim, they just kind of stand there. And the Pschyosis robots seem to have slightly more health than a normal person. They take more shots to kill than I ever would have expected, so you can kind of use them like a shield. In my opinion, Pschyosis is a somewhat underrated ability, but it is still fluky. Sometimes it's really awesome, and sometimes it does absolutely nothing. I like the fact that it charges very quickly, as most abilities do in the game, especially when you run overclock or if you're busy capturing objectives and killing people. You're almost always going to have your Pschyosis available for use, and it has quite a few uses. The obvious one is to distract your enemies so that they shoot at the clones and not at you. You can call it in to use the clones as a shield, which I don't do as often because it tends not to work, but it can work on occasion. And lastly, it can make your enemies run a completely different direction or slow them toward advancing an objective. For instance, if you're on an objective, you call in your clones and they all run and hop on the objective, your enemies might stop to shoot them before coming to the objective. However, the issue is it's very difficult to predict where the clones are going to go. Sometimes you call them in expecting them to go straight forward and cover all the paths, but they'll go backwards. Sometimes you call them in while you're wall running and they fall down and do nothing. Sometimes you call them in the water and they obviously do nothing. It seems as if there are preset clone paths all over the map where they have a very generic AI to follow. So sometimes if you're in an unusual position, if you're on the corner near a ledge, if you're too close to an objective, if there's some kind of obstruction in your way and you call call in the clones, and they'll run very random and useless directions. Also, they have a very simple behavior. They walk straight forward, they hold whatever weapon you're holding, but they don't shoot and they don't do anything complicated. So the second you jump, you give yourself away. The second you wall run, you throw a grenade. The second you start shooting, the second you do anything, you give yourself away between who's real and who's the decoy. So any smart person is going to kill you. However, any dumb person can be very, very easily fooled, and you can get some really easy kills like this. I think it's very tactical in search and destroy and sometimes TDM, a little bit less so in, control-based modes like hardpoint or domination, and especially less so in something like CTF or maybe uplink. But it's generally just used as a big, annoying distraction. If you think your enemies are dumb, if you think you can distract them, if you can throw them off, anything that'll buy you just a little bit of time does good work. It's kind of like active camo in that regard, and that active camo doesn't fool anybody for more than maybe a second, but you only need about a second to do some really good work. And like I said before, this can be very, very fluky. There's been a lot of times I call in my clones and they're able to track my location and see the clones pop up around me, so they just kill me instantly. Call in the clones, get hit by a grenade. Call in the clones and I'm not moving appropriately and I'm dead. Very, very fluky. It's a good ability, but definitely not a top tier ability, and it's not what makes Reaper Reaper. What makes Reaper Reaper and what makes him so cool is his Scythe ability. Some of the things you may not know about the Scythe are that it is the slowest charging ability or weapon in the game. Nothing in the entire game charges as slowly as the Scythe, and it rips kill streaks. It can shred kill streaks faster than most of the other special abilities and leave you with plenty of ammo left over to either shoot down UAVs or to go ahead and challenge somebody else and get kills with it. On top of that, the Scythe is one of the things that kills the war robot in Ground War or Safeguard Ground War faster than just about anything else. If you call in the Scythe and hose the war robot, it's going to die incredibly quickly, and you're still going to have some Scythe left over to go kill maybe a few other people. Very awesome, very, very good in those regards, but most people like it just because it's a big, nasty weapon, so I'm going to treat it like a weapon and tell you the weapon stats. The Scythe will deal 35 flat damage at every range. That's 35 damage up close, medium, and at long ranges. It has no headshot bonus, so getting Scythe headshots doesn't make any difference at all. And it has medium wall penetration factor like most of the other assault rifles and submachine guns, meaning that it's probably not the best to wallbang with, but you definitely can do it. It fires at 1200 RPM, which is approximately the same speed as the Vesper, and that is very, very fast. But it does have, as is coded, a 350 millisecond spin up time. That's what the code says. I have a feeling it might be just a smidge faster than that, and you can get it rotating by aiming down sights so that it fires somewhat faster. It's something that I do a lot. I'll go ahead and aim down sights and go ahead and get the barrel spinning so that it fires faster when I pull the trigger. Less delay. Time to kill of the Scythe is similar to that of a point-blank Vesper. Unlike most of the other special abilities, it's not instant. There is an actual time to kill associated with it, but that is very, very fast, and it happens at infinite range. It's kind of like getting a Vesper with super low recoil and having nearly infinite range, which makes it an awesome weapon. It has very low recoil at long ranges, all ranges really, and I feel that it's definitely geared toward long ranges. However, it also has a very slow aim down sights movement speed. When you're firing it, or when you're aiming down sights and firing it, you're kind of like a turret. You can't move very fast at all. That is a weakness of it. Maximum ammo capacity is 160. That's all the bullets you get, but don't worry, that'll be plenty. And I'll reiterate again that this is the slowest charging weapon or specialist ability in the game. If I'm not mistaken, this one takes 6 minutes to charge up, even in the fastest charging modes. So if you're using this one, you need to be prepared to only use it once or twice per game, or to kill a whole lot of people to earn it quickly, or to make it really, really count. You don't want to waste the Scythe at all. You don't want to waste any special ability, but the Scythe may be one of the most special ones in the game because it does everything. In my top 5 specialist video, I called the Scythe the very best special weapon in the game, and that's because I truly think it is. You get a huge ammo capacity, it lasts for a long time, you could probably kill like 50 people before you run out of ammo, it kills any score streak in the game, it can wall bang, you can save it, you can use it close range, you can use it long range. I think it's very much so geared toward long range because of the low recoil and the same maximum damage. You can rip people like snipers, LMG users, head glitchers, whatever. You can tear them a new butthole at super long ranges. I do feel that it's a little bit riskier for close range because of the wind-up time. You do have a tendency to get outgunned by some of the faster SMGs, unless of course you're already shooting and you just spray around a corner, but then you're wasting your ammo. Scythe is all about conservative play and closing down choke points. I feel that's why competitive players really gravitate toward it. It's because they can call it in tactically and close down entire lanes of the game and become completely unchallengeable. That said, it's just as effective in pubs. Very effective in public, competitive and public, and effective in almost every game mode except surprisingly Search and Destroy. I find it to just take way too long to charge, so I think this one's more like the crazy point modes like Uplink, Capture the Flag, Hardpoint, Domination, something like Safeguard, something like that. Something where you're going to be very busy, have a lot of people to kill, you're more likely to get it, and it's very, very disappointing when you call it in and die immediately. That's soul-crushing to me, because it takes so long to charge. I feel like I've truly lost something. Like when I have the Annihilator, the War Machine, or the Ripper or something, they charge quicker. So when I die, they're wasted, it's annoying, whatever, but I get it back. But when I die with the Scythe, I've lost a significant amount of time, and I might not be getting that back. So it is high risk, high reward in that area. Overall, Reaper is a very, very powerful specialist. He's good in almost every mode. I decided not to do the cosmetic attachments in this episode. That didn't seem to be a very popular part of the episode, so I'm going to skip that out. Guys, if you do want the cosmetic bits, let me know. I'll edit them back in. But as for now, that is the end of this episode. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. The previous episode was on drone carrier health, and the next episode I have to keep secret for now. Drifter out.